Imagine you are sitting in a prison cell. It's clean, well lit, and you're fed 3 times a day. You have access to endless entertainment and all the opinions you could ever want. But there are no walls, no bars. You are free to leave, but you don't. Why? Because the greatest prison in the modern world is not made of steel. It's made of comfort. The most disturbing truth of our generation is not that the world is getting louder, but that our minds are getting quieter. We are trading our intellectual independence for the numbing security of the crowd. The deep, uncomfortable ability to reason, to challenge, and to reflect, what we call critical thinking, is not just vanishing, it's being outsourced. We're now living in the age of collective stupidity, where we become easier to manage, easier to deceive, and ultimately, easier to control. In the next 10 minutes, we're going to expose the 5 silent psychological forces, from neuroscience to education, that are actively rewiring your brain to follow, not to think. We will uncover the critical flaw in your brain that makes you emotionally addicted to being wrong. And by the end, you will learn the single most important, courageous act you can perform to reclaim your mind before it's too late. To join the quiet revolution, subscribe now. Leave a like if you believe the truth is something worth seeking. Now, let's begin with the biggest lie, that thinking is a virtue. But before we talk about who benefits from your ignorance, we have to look at the battlefield, your brain. The problem is not that you are unintelligent, it's that your brain has been fundamentally rewired to operate in fast mode. The simple truth is, deep thinking is hard, and the modern world is designed to make it impossible. Neuroscientists like Daniel Kahneman call this our System 1 thinking. Fast, automatic, and emotional. And thanks to the never-ending stream of information, 5 times what our grandparents processed daily, we are stuck there. We are bombarded with notifications, headlines, and outrage, forcing the brain to rely on mental shortcuts and cognitive biases. This is why you accept an online post with 1,000 likes as automatically true. That's not reason. That's a psychological shortcut called social proof. The algorithm is training you to follow a signal, not to question an idea. We are losing the capacity for sustained attention. The decline of deep reading, jumping between tabs, skimming, never pausing, is a physical rewiring of the brain. You cannot analyze, reflect, or truly understand if your attention span is constantly fractured. As Carl Sagan warned, we live in a society dependent on science and technology, yet we're losing the ability to think critically about the systems we depend on. But why does this fast thinking make us so susceptible to collective stupidity? The answer lies in the emotional reward we get for avoiding contradiction. Next, we will break down the psychological addiction to certainty. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. Critical thinking is fundamentally uncomfortable. It forces you to admit, I might be wrong. The human ego hates being wrong. When new evidence clashes with a belief you hold, your mind enters cognitive dissonance. To escape this painful tension, most people don't change the belief. They defend it. They retreat into their tribes, repeat slogans, and refuse to engage in the honest, Socratic dialogue that has fueled real philosophical progress for millennia. Philosopher Erich Fromm described how many people secretly want to surrender their freedom of thought, because true freedom comes with the terrifying responsibility of facing uncertainty. Thinking for yourself means you can no longer comfortably blame the crowd. You must face the difficult, ambiguous nature of reality alone. Most people simply choose comfort over clarity. This comfort is aggressively weaponized by the systems that surround us. The next segment will expose how the education system and the algorithms you interact with daily are specifically designed to manufacture your consent and keep you obedient. The suppression of critical thought often starts not in the media, but in the classroom. John Taylor Gatto, the renowned critic of traditional schooling, argued that modern education was not designed to create independent thinkers, but to prepare students for factory life, predictable, obedient, and non-disruptive. From an early age, we are taught what to think, not how to think. Conformity is rewarded. Memorization is prioritized over exploration. The message is clear. Color inside the lines, and don't ask too many questions. In adult life, this obedience is perfected by social media. Every platform is an engineered environment designed to maximize engagement, not enlightenment. You are constantly nudged toward the confirmation bias, content that validates your existing beliefs. The platforms reward instant, emotional, and often angry reactions because outrage is faster than reflection. Marshall McLuhan was right. The medium is the message. Today's digital medium encourages speed over depth and certainty over humility. The terrifying result? The tyranny of the cognitive majority. Ideas are no longer judged on evidence or logic, but on how many people agree with them. If it's viral, it must be true. This is the mechanism by which collective stupidity spreads, not because people are foolish, but because they have been trained to outsource their judgment. So, if the system is designed to keep us numb, how do we break the pattern? The final, most actionable segment will give you the 3 tools for cognitive self-defense and reveal the spiritual act of thought. The antidote to collective stupidity is not just intelligence, it is courage. Courage to be wrong. Courage to learn. We must embrace metacognition, the deliberate practice of thinking about our thinking. Every time you form an opinion, you must pause and ask, what assumptions lie beneath this certainty? Who benefits from me believing this? Am I truly engaging with this idea, or just passively absorbing it? We must also cultivate dialectical thinking, the mental strength to hold 2 opposing ideas in tension simultaneously, without dissolving into a simple us versus them binary. This is what allows you to move beyond simplistic political and ideological warfare and into the rich realm where real understanding is born. At its core, the disappearance of critical thinking is not an intellectual problem. It is a spiritual crisis. Why? Because to think critically is to risk everything that gives you psychological safety: your identity, your tribe, and your cherished beliefs. We are in an era where identity has become sacred, and to challenge an idea is seen as a personal attack. The final, most urgent truth is this: you are not your ideas. You are not your political party, your religion, or your social group. You are a human being with the capacity to evolve. Critical thinking is the ultimate act of honoring truth over comfort. It's the quiet decision to live with your eyes open, even when the light burns. It is the act of questioning yourself. Why do I believe what I believe? What parts of me are afraid to let go of this? When you reclaim your mind, you become harder to manipulate. You stop being a passive consumer of ideas and become an active seeker of truth. This is the quiet fire that has burned through history, in Socrates, in Galileo, in every truth-teller who refused to stop thinking. The rise of collective stupidity is not a sentence. It is a symptom of fear, of fatigue, of distraction. But every time you pause to reflect instead of react, every time you choose clarity over comfort, you push back against the tide. Don't let the world program you. Become the architect of your own mind. If this message resonated with you, if you are one of the quiet minds seeking truth, leave a comment below with a moment when you realized you were operating on fast mode. Dialogue is where critical thinking grows. Share this video with the one person you know who dares to think differently. Subscribe to Psychethos and hit the bell so we can continue this quiet revolution. Stay curious, stay awake, and above all, keep thinking.